Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
So we haven't even really started, and already I've gotten in trouble. And she is a Feng Shui expert. She is wonderful, knows her stuff, also knows Chinese astrology. Aelita Leto joins us. How are you today?
I'm very good, Steve. You make me work.
So here's the thing. We didn't even get going before we even went on air. And by the way, you might be listening to the podcast. You might be watching the podcast. So before we even start, Aelita looks and says, the door's open. So in the back, I have the door to my office. And apparently that's not a good thing. I don't know. What did I do wrong?
Well, you're depleting your subconsciousness. You're consciously right now talking to me, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
What if I make a face?
Okay.
There's somebody at your door.
At that door?
Yeah.
Explain. What do you mean there's somebody at the door?
So if you would be a child, let's say I have teenagers, and if I want to check on them to make sure that they are on their screens and they're doing the right thing.
Yes.
Then I want to be in charge. And that will be the best position to put them. Basically, the way you're sitting, and I'm a parent behind at the door.
Okay, so
you have no control, and your subconscious, let's say if you tune into your work in a daily basis, right? Your energy pool is in front of you, or we right now communicating.
Sure.
Who is really protecting you from the back at this point? Your intuition, your kind of all your senses that are engaged, right?
Agreed. Yeah.
Sometimes when people are sitting in not the appropriate, not taking a really full advantage of the windows, their views, their doors, kind of being we call in Feng Shui like as a power position. So you are not in charge.
Because I left the door open and potentially,
and you don't know what's coming in, what's coming out. You are basically leaving your side or back vulnerable.
So I mean, there's nothing in that room except computer, desk, things like that. But you're saying that,
energetically speaking,
you're gonna make me get up and close the door.
No, so this is a good thing. Because I can see your door, you'll be keeping an eye contact with me, and I'll protect you. Because when you see something, oh, be careful, then you can react. The only thing that could be a kind of, let's say, invading your private space will be something that I can see. This will be something interesting. I think that the listeners could examine when they go to restaurant. Right. Let's say a couples go to restaurant.
I know exactly what you're going to say. And yes, I do it. Go ahead.
And they choose the place where to sit.
Yes.
Typically the one who is a protector and who is overseeing always take a command position because, and then if I know that my partner or my, let's say the colleague or whoever I'm at that space, let's say if I allowing them or trusting them, I allow them to take the command position because I know I'm going to be safe and insecure.
And I do that when I sit down. I'm the one that picks the seat to watch the door. A lot of people say that's an Italian thing too. Well, whatever. But
I think this is not as much. Maybe the Italians being loud and proud about it.
Maybe, I don't know, but I find myself wanting to see who's coming in, and I don't know why, but I do.
Well, but then on the other hand, let's say if we can also select our seating when we can have a really solid back wall, or kind of like sometimes seatings in a booth, right? In a booth, then you kind of conclusively that really engages you, that you can enjoy your dinner or lunch, or you can enjoy your companionship, and you don't think about the surroundings. So the spaces that you choose, if you want to be a protector all the time, then at what point are you relaxing?
You're really not, because you're always on guard.
Because so on guard, and sometimes you're consciously on guard, and sometimes you at all time subconsciously on guard. Like right now, working in this position, because by nature, you're like character, like you are not, it's our natural instinct being that position of like safe and secure. Of course, you have another room there, but I don't. I don't know that how safe. I will be watching out for you, so you can trust me.
So in other words, you got my back.
I got your back.
Like literally. All right. Today we're going to talk about, aside from now that I got scolded, today we're going to talk about ancestry and what that means and some fascinating things that you're going to bring to light connected to Feng Shui.
Well, in my practice in the past 20 years, practically doing Feng Shui, many times when I'm visiting clients' home or being in a space, sometimes I said that feels like Feng Shui is good, but sometimes the energetical component of the client, sometimes they feel depleted, energetically stuck, or like feeling, nothing really happening. And believe it or not, one of the questions that I have is, do you have any deceased like remains of your pets or your loved ones?
Wow.
And then when they say yes, then this is one of the keys. Sometimes it's not about physical space, about how the house is built and how house is decorated. Sometimes it is about keeping the remains of the pets or loved ones on their mantles or on their shelves, on their offices, like right in front. I have a lot of like these situations that has been one of the triggering points to improve the Feng Shui or to improve clients' life is by suggesting to finding the closure, because that means there's something is like kind of unfinished life cycle.
So, okay, let's break this down a little bit more. So you're saying that if you have a loved one's ashes in an urn on a mantle or on a desk or somewhere in your house, and it could be even a pet that you just said, or human remains, not a good thing. That's to have that there.
It's not as much good or bad. Question would be, is it appropriate? And how does that thing is really functioning in your physical space based on the Feng Shui? And then you can also ask the question, why do we in the world we have a commemorate way of having a cemetery? So why do we have the temples for deceased? Why do we make offerings, or isn't sometimes the photo or image or art piece is better to reminding about ancestral chi or somebody, let's say, who passed, instead of holding in a physical space that boxes of ashes? I can understand that aspect of maybe within the first year after passing, but when it's after that I believe there's something that is affecting, because it's a yin environment. When you are not alive, you are yin, in a form of yin. And a form of yin is you can be immersed to the earth or into water. It depends what's the culture, what's the belief system is. But when you're kind of stuck in between, you are in a living environment, and if nobody prays over you, or there's no candles here, or there's what does it mean when you see that? It could be depressive. It
Sure.
could be sad, because there's no symptoms. So maybe it's better to tell you an example. I have several examples on my latest blog on my website. And one of the examples was, I came to the client's home. It was perfect. This beautiful mansion. And after 3 hours of consulting and trying to really, figuring out, I still did not know why I was there. I was still kind of having an intuitively feeling is there's something is still holding me back, right? And at the door, like nearby the hallway, I just said, well, it's kind of interesting. There's your Feng Shui, the Bagua map, and everything else. And it's kind of interesting. We are saying goodbye. at the area of the related to the ancestral chi. And the client instantly says, like, how interestingly you mentioned that. And she's opening the closet. And in the closet is the ash box of her father and the flag, the veteran's flag, has been there for 5 years. And she was stuck because she did not know what to do.
What to do with those items?
Yes.
You know
And
what?
that's
I agree with that. And it's almost as we feel guilt if we do anything, so we just leave it the way it is.
but it's not I believe I was in that space because of her father. Because there was the Feng Shui is not only practically you moving the furniture, but you're working with energies, you're working with the spirits, you're working with the, bigger concepts, right? So there was the feeling the client was depleted, the feeling like, kind of low on energy. There was the unresolved, and I was in first astrology. There was unresolved ancestral chi. And that was the one of the years that she was able to really commemorate and find a location and finalize. The next day, what she did, we selected a day, she found the place instantly next day to find it in a beautiful cemetery in Napa. We selected a day to commemorate, to basically release the ashes. And even for the ceremony, the parents who were divorced, even they found, like, her mother came to commemorate and honor that.
Wow.
So in one effect, emotionally, in a spiritual level, in an energetical level, in a physical level, everything got harmonized and achieved. And now you have a place where when you go to connect to your father energy, when you need that support, it's not like you feel guilty, you're stuck in your closet in the doorway, but you go and you really transition and be and communicate.
I have questions. This is very interesting. Let's say you don't take those ashes and put them in a cemetery. Mm-hmm. Some people like to bury them at sea. If you do that, now you just said that you can go to the cemetery to feel energized or feel connected to that loved one. If you put them in a body of water, can you go to the water and will it have the same effect? Yeah?
Sure, because the water is conductive. Just think about your mind, your imagination leads the mind leads the chi. You instantly connecting. It's like a speed of light. It's instant. It's instant connection. And if you find that moment of serenity, or think about how people also let's say, especially based on the US. I know that a lot of, as you know, I'm Latvian, and you sometimes think, like, how come that there's a lot of Latvians in Chicago, or how come there's Latvians in those certain areas? Because the land is speaking, because the landscape is very similar to the ancestral land. And it's almost like, why there's so many Italians or originally in Napa, like in the Northern California, in a wine country, because it's really resonated with their ancestral land in Italy, right? So you kind of go to similarity. So when you start thinking about, let's say, about the ancestry, we're going back and revealing those patterns that ignites us and allow us to actually relax into it or connect to it. So I would say, as soon as you can, sometimes it really is about people's imagination and how you cultivate that and allowing yourself to transform. So it is a part of the Feng Shui as well.
Well, I think it's fascinating. And would you say, in general, if somebody has remains from somebody in their home, that it could be potentially holding them back from moving forward with?
Absolutely. Yeah, I can refer to my blog. You can read more to it. But there was the client whose partner suddenly passed away, and she had his remains. She called me. She actually, when she heard my talk about what to do with the ancestral ashes, she reached out to me and wanted to consult, and that's what I did. And she was ready to move on and to look forward to the new relationship in life because she was a fairly young lady. And I was like, how, if I would be a new potential partner, how would I feel coming in the living room that somewhere in a TV cabinet, nicely stacked with all the artifacts, there is the remains of the previous loved one. Not being disrespectful, but how would you, as a starting the new relationship, wouldn't that hold you back? Or wouldn't that be something awkward to stumble upon?
Definitely awkward. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
And you're going to want to talk about it. Like I would, if I walked into somebody's house, it was a new relationship, that's your
and you
mom.
say, what happened?
Right. Yeah.
What happened? And you may be like, you were just like 5 years and you're already over it, like kind of understanding you want to move. And, he was such a great man, but is it appropriate? So one of my solutions was when we did when we make all the arrangements in the place, in the house, it was to honor remains, and at least to remove from the living space, the immediate living space,
Hmm.
immediate living room. And since on the property they had the beautiful redwoods, we had I suggested that you have like a really nice ceramic, or like maybe a large pot or vase or something, like could be protected, and temporarily, while could be set up the nice bench next to the redwood. There was a beautiful container that is, where you can put the ash container in it until you decide what the family wants to do, where you want to have a ceremony, etc. But at least it's not in your immediate living space.
Okay.
And then you make an effort. If you want to come out, it's like you want to bring the light, you want to burn the candle, you want to make an offering like incense, or you want to sometimes you miss the person or a pet so much, you make an effort to go to that place and connect heart to heart, spirit to spirit, right? So, and replace it with what we did as adjustment in the place where it was. They had a common beautiful art piece. There was a view of the sea in the Santa Cruz, and they replaced right on that above the mantle with a piece. And that was really a good pure beginning, because it was enough as a memory that you're not neglecting that relationship and you're purifying, but at the same time, it doesn't become as invasive in an interpretation when you want to start a new relationship.
Would you say, Aelita, that it's okay to take it out of your living space, but put it in a closet? Or is it kind of the same anyway? Putting it there, no go.
No, no,
Mm.
it means you're just like, okay, do you want to, like, what do you want to do when it's time to pass? What do you want to, what would you like to have done?
Probably ashes and have my children
Keep it in
scattered by the water because I love the water.
Okay, all right. And then what they can do is like take a beautiful image, right? Like on that space spot. Well, maybe sometimes you're gonna be traveling with your kids and you fell in love with the site. So
Mm.
you have a photo with your kids standing on that site. And then you can say, you know what? When my time is, this is the spot when I want to be released.
Mm.
And what they do what you want, but what they frame and keep as a momentum, instead of the boxes of ashes, they keep the photo from the place where you actually, as a living being, full body, been and stand and have those happy moments. What creates the better association and better memories?
Absolutely.
So,
Whenever I see my mom's ashes, it's just like, I'm not like, hey, that's great. It's got a different meaning and feeling to it. But it's also, you feel that you don't want to disrespect that person. So then you hang on to them. Just in general, I'm talking in general.
right. And one of the ways, if you, I'm completely understand people are pattern beings, they create attachments, they deep attachments, but you also have to kind of like limitations. If you do have if you need to commemorate, or if you need to honor that, The one way is you still need to cultivate. You need to pray over. You need to offer the candle. You offer the food. You remember them at their birthdays. Remember at their special days like Mother's. What did you do for Mother's Day? How did you remember your mom?
Just before Mother's Day, walked into a local convenience store, and my mom loved this raspberry Danish, and a company makes it in this area. And I just looked at the Danish. I'm going to be honest. I looked at it and I started crying. And
Okay, should have eaten.
And she knew
Okay.
right away.
Okay, so this will be one way. Let's say one way for you to honor that, it was to get the Danish, to pray over, Mom, I know you love this. This is for you.
Yeah.
You would indulge the aroma. You offer to her, because in the spirit, she's right there. And you joyously take the bite and you have the connection. I make you cry now.
You could.
Yeah.
It is, but it makes sense. It's like, and when she first passed her first birthday, that's what we did. I got it.
Perfect.
That was kind of the thing, because it was still fresh back then. Hopefully the Danish was, but the passing was.
And you know what? Even your mom, your biological mom has passed. Okay. There's still so many living moms around you on daily basis.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that becomes your personal act of gratitude to any other potential, good act of motherhood, that you also can kind of give it as a gift. Because if somebody else did it and your mom would have done it, you almost like it's a pay, like a giving back.
Pay it forward. Right?
Yeah, it's paying forward. So you see when, I know not everybody has a traditions, or sometimes the thing is we are in the United States as a melting pot, and there's something to talk about. Death or impermanence has been a very, very sensitive subject from that perspective. So when we try to bring, we can create your own tradition, right? But when it's appropriately set, it could be also beautiful and functional.
Sure.
But neglecting,
and that's
not a good feng shui.
And just what you said, that's what usually happens with ashes. They're there. It's not like, every once in a while I might walk in, hey mom, but it usually not. It's an object that's there that you feel that you're, out of respect for the person that passed, you keep. And now we're learning today that it could be hindering somebody's progress of moving forward, and just in general with the chi that we talk about, getting in the way. I guess that's
Well, it's depleting. Everything is, we are energy, no matter how we look at it, our tangible mass, our, in a cellular level, we are energy.
Yep.
And our thought forms, our kind of, way we feel, it's all this energy. And when we surround ourselves, we're creating that good, better feng shui for ourselves. In many ways, we also revealing or completing generational patterns.
Yep.
Something to think about by forgiving your ancestry, by forgiving your mother, by giving your, brothers and sisters. You also need to kind of reveal the resolution, because that affects your physical body. Somebody who's grieving, is affecting your lungs. You could grieve and grieve, but energy body has a lungs too. And your spirit body has a lungs too. Until you actually connect to the prayer, you can't really heal.
Interesting. Wow. I never thought of it that way. I accept there's energy everywhere. We're all energy. There's, even those that have passed on, there's an energy that comes from them. But the lung part of that, interesting.
Well, same thing about liver. Sometimes people who have a lot of anger. Anger is opposite to creativity. That's holds in the liver. It's in the energy body. So that's why like raging, like a raising voice or being upset. Typically with, addictions and stuff, stops the other limitation. So that energy body delivered, it could be also you instantly could correlate to something in a childhood, could be correlated to something with maybe disagreements, with the masculine and feminine. So as I said, Feng Shui is not just Feng Shui about the physical moving space. It's really multidimensional kind of connection between the people, like human chi, earth chi as your physical environment, and heaven chi, which is the time and space, and how we balance all those aspects. And how we adapt. That's the Feng Shui.
You're teaching us a lot. We're out of time, but I love, the fact that, yeah, I know I'm looking at the clock, like, how could that be? But it is, because time is always moving. Like we just said, we're on the timeline. Somebody wants to connect with you, learn more, even what we talked about ancestry today. What do they do?
Please visit my website, www.Aelita Leto, which is spelling AELITALETO.com. And under the blog post, there's a great articles about what to do with ashes and some testimonials, and read more and reach out to me. I'll be happy to assist.
Yeah, there's so many different aspects of it. And it's always a pleasure talking with you. Guess what I'm going to do right now?
Close the door.
It's on my list. Yes. And we'll catch up next time. Thank you, Aelita.
Thank you. Have a good one. Have a good day. Thank you so much.
Thank you. We'll be right back.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.